This is Luke Goss, and this is one of my favorite places to check out all things movie. Check it out. This is the QC.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So welcome back to the QC. I'm your host, Swanka Burnett. That's my real name. And welcome to episode 14 of Quality Control, Quiet Place 2, Spoiler Talk. I'm joined today by two of the true nice guys in the entertainment journalism landscape, Lucas Parker.
Hi there.
Lucas, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to do this.
Yeah, for sure. And also the originator, creator, and mastermind of the League of Cinephiles, Alex Helmer. Alex,
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Happy to talk about this movie.
Sure thing. So make sure you give both of these fine fellows a follow. So gentlemen, give us your review. What did you think of the movie?
Well, I loved it. I mean, it's like the first one was just, that's the thing is, I remember when the first one was about to come out, I don't know if it screened at Sundance or where it was, but like the buzz around it was crazy. Like it got so hyped up, and then you go and see it, and it's basically just a B movie. Like it's a monster movie, but like a really well-made monster movie where you're invested with all the characters. It's like the atmosphere is just tense, like it's completely thrilling, and you're into it the whole time. And then the second one just barrel rolls right straight from the first one. Like it's like not even a second it like left off, and you're right into the story. You're right into it with all the characters again. The intensity was high. Literally from the moment it started, I was on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, all right, perfect. Like it's almost like just one perfect continuating film. It is the sequel, but it's basically just a continuation of the first film almost perfectly. So yeah.
Good stuff. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Luke said. The part of the allure of these films, or the first two, I should say, is that they're less focused on the post-apocalyptic type of monster stuff that a lot of movies like this are focused on. They're really focused on like the personal, like family, like personal, like stories within this kind of world. And I was really worried coming into this film that they would go too much into like what's happening with the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this happening? Why? And they didn't do that, which I really enjoyed. And a lot of people, I'm guessing, will complain about that because they didn't go too into the expository elements of like what's happening.
Yeah.
But I actually really thought that they sticking to their guns and sticking to like the personal aspects of the story and the characters and like the small scale of it was it was in line with how Krasinski wants this whole like these films to develop, and I thought it was great. So yeah,
agreed completely.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you guys 1,000%. So for me, like, you know, with the movie being PG-13, I've always been someone that's not a huge fan of the notion of doing horror PG-13 because I feel like, you know, the whole idea behind horror, you got to have some of that gore. But this film, you know, it made it work, even though there wasn't really any of the gore. And I think they accomplished that by, to Alex's point, and Luke, you mentioned it as well, is basically the characters, you care about them so much and you want to see them survive. And you just have you're so invested in those characters that, you know, the monster even becomes like, you know, it's a big part of why you enjoy the movie, but really the best parts of the movie for me were them just trying to prepare themselves to be safe when you knew the monster was on its way to them. You know what I mean? Not necessarily the actual action itself, which is really, really high praise for a movie like this, where you care so much about the characters that you're just so invested that you want to make them, you want to see them survive. So I really enjoyed that, and that's really why, for me, I thought Quiet Place 2 is just a great gripping kind of horror film that anybody would enjoy.
Yeah. You just start to like even characters. I mean, you like all of them, but it's like this movie, you do care about them on a deeper level. Like it just makes you, because you see them start to grow. You see the children all of a sudden have to like take the spot of their father and just kind of like level up. And you're just like, God, like, and you can just see how difficult it is for them, but they're like just grasping on to like who they have to become to survive in this world and still keep their decency. And you're just like, my God, man, like I already liked them before. And now you just like them on, like, you're just watching good people develop. And there's something like just inherently, you just love it. Like in this movie captures it perfectly.
Yeah. And then there was something that QC mentioned as well, not focusing on the monsters. I thought that one of like my favorite aspects of the film, part of I guess what Krasinski was doing, is that whenever some of my favorite scenes in the film were set up by previous moments. Like for example, this is spoiler talk, so I guess I can talk freely about some of it.
Full spoilers.
So there's there's a moment where you see like the boat with the alien on top of it. That's it's going off the dock, and you don't ever see it again. And then so he sets up the clue of the boat and the alien on top of the boat. And then later when they get to that safe haven place, Cillian Murphy's character sees that boat, and you're like, oh shit, like, because we saw that hinted at by Krasinski earlier in the film. Same with my favorite moment in the film, which he hinted at multiple times, which is when this was the biggest ovation I got in my theater, like the biggest like oh shit moment, was when he went into the safe and he locked it, but the towel wasn't on the handle of the safe door. And why that scene is so impactful for me is because Krasinski hinted at that multiple times throughout the film, where he just focuses on the door and it's slamming on the towel, and you're like, okay, it has to be like that in order for them to survive in that safe without dying. And so when that door closes and it fully closes, you're like, oh my god. And that of course leads to my favorite scene, when he's literally in the safe, trying to like with the oxygen tank, trying to give himself oxygen, and he's trying to like, okay, I need some air, and with the intercut footage of other, like, because you had like 3 storylines going around like at the same time, having like him intercut footage of all those storylines together just made it so much more impactful. And it was something that wasn't as like, it wasn't, because the first one was focused on just the 4 characters, because this one had so much more to it. So like to these like to the like the I'm specifically talking about the interconnection of the storyline. So I loved that aspect of it.
Sure, those are some great points. Like there was some really good setup and payoffs, like specifically like you mentioned with the towel on the door. And I noticed that, but it's funny, I noticed it more of my subconscious. But now that you're pointing it out, I definitely that was a moment that I really noticed. Like, oh shit, like this is bad. Like they're gonna run out of air. Yeah,
something's coming with that. That someone's gonna forget to put that towel up, and there's gonna be problems, or it's gonna be I mean, that scene was almost perfect. Like I think I had my breath held almost the entire time when you just kept seeing him take the like oxygen mask off the baby's face and put it on himself. You're just like, oh my god, like it's so crazy. But I mean, just like a perfectly executed thriller scene.
So I mentioned I mentioned in my written review that I got some sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, I was just kind of adding on, but no, it's good
stuff. So I mentioned in my written review that I got like some Ellen Ripley vibes from both Millicent and from Emily Blunt. Did you guys pick up on that a little bit too?
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Millicent just became an all-out badass.
Awesome. She was so awesome. Really was.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah. So as far never lost her humanity. Like you could just see the whole time, like her reasons for doing it, and who she was, just like how caring. Like, man, that girl can act. Like her eyes are so expressive. And she's incredible.
I also loved how they stuck with the sign language throughout the film. Because that was something I just feel like that's an important aspect to like the family dynamic that they have, and the fact that they stuck with that, despite the fact that they could have like talked to each other. Like for example, like Emily Blunt and Noah Jupe's characters, like they would like use sign language to talk to each other instead of like actually talking to each other, which I felt was like just, it was a small thing, but it was just important to me, and I felt it made the film better.
Agreed. So as far as Quiet Place 1 and Quiet Place 2, which one would you say is superior?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's almost, they're just a perfect continuation. Like I guess I would say the second one, because so many sequels disappoint and are terrible, but this one actually made me like the first one more. So I guess that's almost the perfect thing you could say about a sequel, is like in no way did it diminish the first one. It made me like the whole series that much more. So I don't know if it's necessarily better, but it's a perfect idea to continue the story.
For me, I love both, but I'm gonna go with first one, and there's 2 major reasons for this. One is because I do love Krasinski in the first one. I loved him so much. And when he died in the first one, I had no idea how they were going to deal with that in the second one. And although I did like Cillian Murphy in this film, I definitely loved, maybe it's because I love The Office so much, but I kind of missed John Krasinski's presence in the film. And I felt Cillian Murphy was a bit of a means to sustain Krasinski's role in the franchise, if you know what I mean. Like, so I just kind of, and also, there was a moment when that safe haven moment came up and all that chaos erupted was like, well, that was a dick move. When they come to the safe haven and they bring the alien onto like the island and everyone there who's having a nice time, having a barbecue, just chilling out, all of them just die. I didn't think it was a bad element. It was just like kind of unintentionally funny, especially because of what happened to Jaimon Hansu. So I just felt like that moment in itself, it's not a negative, but at the same time, it's kind of unintentionally funny, if you know what I mean. Like when it happened, I was like, okay, well, that's like the only safe civilization kind of thing we see in this film is now like all done.
Just wreak havoc over it. Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I love both films. I remember coming out of Quiet Place 1, I'll admit, and specifically, I enjoyed it, but reading reviews, I was seeing the universal praise, and I kind of didn't really get what all the fuss was about. Like, I thought it was good. I thought it was a very simple kind of story. Having seen part 2 now, I think kind of recontextualizes the first one, and like I feel like I'm gonna go back and watch it now, and I enjoyed the second one better as far as when the movie ended. I was like, oh wow, like that was a really awesome experience. Whereas Quiet Place 1, I liked it, but I didn't really think I wasn't like
it was overhyped for sure.
A little bit.
Yeah, way overhyped.
A little bit, yeah. And I like how they did they Krasinski tried to do a little bit to expand the mythology as far as showing that they either can't swim or don't like to swim. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like why is that?
Small thing, but it was
it's a small thing.
Yeah.
And then they showed, I don't know if it was the ship they showed in the beginning or what exactly they showed in the sky, but something was coming to Earth. But
yeah, that was cool. That was a cool moment though.
That first scene was so awesome.
It was.
Oh my god!
Because you kind of imagine that, like even now, it's like I remember when the pandemic started, and you're just sitting there like, oh, like wait, we're shutting down the globe. Like what is? And like when you see this a disaster happen, you have no answers. You're just like heading into like something that is crazy. That was nuts. That was such a cool way to introduce whatever they are, because I'm assuming they're aliens at that point, then seeing that. But yeah, because it could have been a genetic like who knows what direction they could have gone with what these things are, but then that just kind of subtle hint it was cool.
I hope they never reveal it. Like I don't care. Like I love the mystery of it, and I love not knowing, because in a way that's more scary than knowing, like if it's some like lab experiment gone wrong. Like, but yeah.
Or like if they turn it global, where it's like you find out what's going on, like other countries and like other, like I kind of like keeping it just this small little contained story.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I don't know why, it just does make it better for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is the kind of franchise where like 20 years from now, someone's going to buy the rights and then make like a beat
4 or 5 of them
movie,
right after.
Completely ignoring all the elements that make it good and just making it like a straight monster flick and just like destroying it, like Quiet Place 6 that's like straight to DVD or something like that. So that would be funny.
I mean, we've seen it happen too many times. Now with like even just Ghostbusters coming out, like Afterlife, it's like we get the Ghostbusters movies and then a reboot, then a different reboot, and I'm like, it's like Hollywood, they do come up with original ideas, but it seems like once they do, it's just like they just have to turn it into like a 7, 8, 9 movie franchise. I'm like, oh, please don't. There's certain ones
Army
that
of the Dead franchise as well now.
Yeah. Oh my god. Exactly.
A Quiet Place in space.
Tie it in with Jason X, then we have then we're talking.
Becomes Ripley. That's the whole story.
So while we're on the topic of sequels, what do you guys think about them going back to the well a third time, which it sounds like they're going to do?
I just feel like as long as John Krasinski is a part of it and is coming up with the story, I feel like he's just a smart guy. Like the fact he did this with the second one, I think they'll do a good job with the third one. Like I think if he's got a good idea for it, then I'm all in, because it doesn't end where you feel satisfied. Like it's like a cool moment to end it, but you want more. Like I'm like, I want to know what's going to happen next. So yeah, you want to see that baby become like 3 or 4 years old and not be such a burden. But
I definitely want to see a third one. I don't want to see like reboots or not reboot, like spin-offs and like unconnected sequels and that kind of stuff, because that kind of betrays what these movies are about in a way, because I just like the smaller scale of it. And so, but I would totally be down for a third one, especially because I know now that Krasinski is determined to maintain the small scale of the stories and like progressing the story just a little bit at a time and not like, so I would definitely be down for a third one.
Sure thing. Yeah, me too. I think, you know, as long as Krasinski's involved and he's treating it with the same kind of tender loving care that he did with the first two, you know, I'll be there on opening night, just like I was for the second one. So
yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Cool. Well, thank you guys for hanging out and talking about Quiet Place 2. You know, I think we all agree that it's a great movie, and yeah, it's been a good time talking with you guys. Make sure you follow Alex and Luke. Obviously, their handles are on screen right now, and make sure you're staying connected with the QC as well. TheQuickCritic.com. You can find links there for our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Yeah, and you know, for everything entertainment related, this is the way.